Hello, in this video we are looking at Bhagavad Gita Chapter 2 verse 11. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Ashochanan Vashochastvam Prajnavadascha Bhashase Gatasun Nagasa Agatasuncha Nanushuchanti Panditaha. And again with the text up. Here we are. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Ashocyanan Vashochastvam Prajnavadanscha Bhashase Gatasun Agatasunshcha Nanushochanti Panditaha. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. We have our Shri, our well-known particle of respect, used in modern India as well, often used for the distinguished gurus, as in Ramana Maharshi in Tiruvannamalai in Tamil Nadu is often called the Shri Ramana Maharshi. It's the same prefix of respectful address can be applied to some places. Lanka is Sri Lanka. Bhagavan, a general term meaning the Lord or the God, also used very commonly in Pali among the Buddhists. Bhagava in Pali, so the Sanskrit nominative is Bhagavan with a N. The equivalent in Pali is Bhagava, is the same but with the N dropped in the nominative. In the accusative, they're both the same in Sanskrit and Pali. Bhagavantam, identical in Sanskrit and Pali. So here it's Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Blessed One, meaning of course Krishna, said. It's the same Uvacha that we've just seen. And notice in the previous verse we had Prahasaniva, we had this by Sandhi, the short A, word ending in a short A and the final letter N, followed by a short vowel, it doubles the N, Prahasaniva. But note, as I mentioned in the previous verse, that rule, the doubling of the N, only applies if it's a short vowel preceding it. If it's a long vowel preceding it, the N remains unchanged. And that accounts for Bhagavan Uvacha, with a single N. Ashochanan Vashochastvam Prajnavadascha Bhashase. The root shuch, let me give you iPad, the root shuch, it seems that the original meaning of it was actually to be bright. And from that original root, I'm just going to call up Monier Williams just to make sure that I've got this absolutely right. Come on. So I pause. And here's I've called up Monier Williams, the root shuch. So original meaning to shine or to gleam or to glow. And then by extension, to suffer pain. And then by further extension to lament or regret or to grieve. And then by further extension to be bright or pure. So we have all of these notions in shuch, and it's shuch that gives us the adjective shuchi, meaning clean or pure, and the abstract noun shaucha, meaning purity. And as one of your number, Mandira, explained at a previous lesson in modern Hindi, you have the shauchale, which in Sanskrit would be the shauchalaya, the purification place, which means the loo. That's the alaya, as in hima alaya. Alaya means the abode, where something stays or rests. The alaya is the abode of something. And so the Himalaya is the snow abode, the abode of the snow. The Himalaya by Sandhi becomes Himalaya. Modern Hindi, Himalaya, and in English we talk about the Himalayas. So from this root shuch, we have to grieve. We also, by the way, have the noun shoka, which means grief. And we have the famous Indian emperor, in Sanskrit Ashoka, and in Pali Asoka, who's the emperor not long after the death of the Buddha. That's he who the griefless, he who is without grief or without sorrow. Now, as a verb, here we've got anushuch, meaning to grieve for. Let's just call him up. To mourn over, to regret, to bewail. The anu is at the prefix Allah on somebody else's behalf. You're weeping for somebody. Weep not for me, but for your children. So here, Krishna is saying that you have started to grieve. I'll explain Anvashurchasthvam in a moment. You are grieving for, grieving over. See, he's grieving over these people who are about to be killed. Let me call up the text again. Here we are. Krishna is saying you're grieving over people that there's no need to grieve for. So, shurchati, he, she, it grieves. Anushurchati, to lament for somebody, to grieve for somebody as over somebody's death. This is the imperfect form of the verb, called imperfect simply because that's what it corresponds to in the Latin and Greek forms, but it's a past definite despite the name that it's been given. If you will please look at Macdonnell, page 92, you will see under imperfect, you'll see the conjugation of the present, bhu. Now the imperfect, abhavam, abhavaha, abhavat. That's the parasmaipada singular, abhavam, abhavaha, abhavat. The root shuch is a regular verb. In the imperfect, throughout the present system, the shuch becomes shuch. So shuchami, shuchasi, shuchati, and the imperfect ashucham, ashuchaha, ashuchat. So you grieved is ashuchaha. Again, see the paradigm, the regular verb, page 92. Here it is preceded by the prefix anu. Now, note well that when you have the augment to a verb, see the augment here is the ah. So, shuchati, shuchasi, with ashucha, you grieved. You have grieved, you have started to grieve. Where you get a verb prefix and this augment, the prefix comes first, then the augment, and then the main part of the verb. So ashocha, anu ashocha, and the anu ashocha becomes anwa by santi, anua anwa. And this gives us the anvashocha that we find. Sorry, I've been writing in my iPad. Silly me. Here we are. Explain it again. Root shuch, ashocha, you have grieved. Anvashocha, you have grieved. Or here it means not in. It means here you've started to grieve. I think I'm pretty sure that's the idea here. He's not talking about a previous grief because it's a very present grief. So it means you've started to grieve. So anu ashocha, anvashocha by Santi. And of course the anvashocha twam, thou. So the becomes then sa by Santi, anvashocha twam, anvashochas twam, like namah, but namaste. You don't say namaste, namaste. So anvashochas twam. You have started to grieve for whom? Ashocyan. Ashocyan. This is the masculine accusative plural. So shuch to grieve. One of the ways of forming the future passive participle, there are basically three ways of doing it, is by adding tavya or itavya, which is the most common one. And you can add or niya or aniya, pujaniya, worthy of puja. Karaniya, same in Pali and Sanskrit, to be done, requiring to be done. And the other way is just by adding ya to the root. And there are many roots, by the way, that can take their future passive participle in all three ways. Not all, but many can. So shochya means, therefore, grievable. And to explain it in ordinary English, I mean worthy of being grieved for. People who should be grieved for is shochya. But here it's negated with the ashochya. Sorry, I'm writing on the iPad again. Ashochya, ashochya means non-grievable, that is to say, somebody who shouldn't be grieved for. There's no need to grieve. Either you shouldn't do it, or there's no need to do it. This future passive participle, either negated or not, can have that meaning. It has to be done, or proper to be done. So ashocha, the ungrieved, people you shouldn't be grieving for. And here we have the ashochyan is the accusative plural because it's the object of the verb anvashochaha. You anvashochaha, you have started to grieve. Anvashochas twam, the twam is superfluous because anvachochaha, the form of the verb, shows that it's you singular, thou. You have started to grieve for whom? Ashochyan, for the ungrievable, or people who don't need to be grieved over. Pradnyavadanscha bhashase, and the cha, of course, as we all know, means and. You are grieving for those who do not need to be grieved for, and you are speaking words of wisdom. So the and here got a slightly emphasizing a bit of a contrast. So you could translate and yet, but at the same time, you're grieving for those who should not be grieved for. And yet, but at the same time, you are speaking words of wisdom. Bhashase. Bhash is a atmanepada verb. So if it were parasmaipada, which is not, it would be bhashasi. Maybe it can be used in that way sometimes. but here we see it in as Atmanipula Bhasha Se. So you, to speak, and you would conjugate that in singular as Bhashe, Bhasha Se, Bhashate. Here Bhasha Se, you are speaking Pridnyavadan, Pridnyavadan. Pridnya, wisdom, and Vada, a speech or a word. Pridnyavadan is wisdom words. You are speaking words of wisdom. By Sandhi, where you get a final N followed by a Ch or a Cha, aspirate or non-aspirate makes a difference. You change the final N to Anuswara plus the Sha, the palatal Sha. That explains without the Sandhi Pridnyavadan, ordinary accusative plural of a masculine, but Vadascha by Sandhi. It makes no difference to the meaning, of course. It's a pure rule of Sandhi, that. So, Ashochanan Vashochastvam Pradnyavadascha Bhashase Gatasun Agatasunshcha Nanushochanti Panditaha. So, Gatasu and Agatasu, the root, in fact, it should be. Let me just double check this for you. Pause. So before I go on, just want to correct an error here. Gatasun, agatasun. This ought to be short here because the asun, if I got it right here. Gata asu, yes. Asu is one of the several words meaning breath. It's from the root as, meaning is or to be, our very common root. And the asu, it's that which gives us being, that which gives us life. It's the asu, which means a breath. And if a person is gata asu, literally gone breath, means it's a bahuvrihi, a possessive compound, means somebody whose breath has gone, somebody whose breath has left him, somebody who no longer breathes, therefore dead, and he's gatasu. And equally the next one, agatasu, and agata asu, a non-gone breath, means somebody whose breath has not gone. So the agatasu is somebody whose breath has gone, dead. Agatasu, somebody whose breath has not gone, somebody who still has breath, somebody who's still alive. So and here we have the accusative plural again. See the accusative plurals of akaranta shabda in is an, but the ukaranta shabda, words ending in a oops, what's happened here? Words ending in a short u is un. So we have gata asu by santi gata suhu, nominative gata suhu, accusative plural gata sun. So na, so the pandita, wise people, na anushochanti, by santi na anushochanti, do not grieve for, gatasun, those whose breath has gone, agatasunshcha, or for those whose breath has not gone. In other words, the panditaha, the wise, do not grieve either over the living or over the dead. And here again we see the phenomenon of, as we saw in Pridnyavadashya Bhashase, we've got the n followed by the cha, the n followed by cha becomes Vadashya. In exactly the same way, the un followed by cha becomes unshcha. So agatasunshcha, agatasunshcha from agatasuncha. So just go through this again. The the Blessed One, the Blessed Lord, Uvacha said, Anvashochas Twam. Again, Twam not quite necessary, Anvashocha on its own would do. You have grieved, or you have started to grieve for whom? Ashocyan, the ungrievable, those who do not need grief, or those who should not be grieved for. Prajnavadascha bhashase. Cha here let's interpret as and yet at the same time. Bhashase, you speak. Prajnavadan, wisdom words, and yet at the same time you speak words of wisdom. Panditaha, pandits the wise. Na anushochanti, nanushochanti, do not grieve over. Gatasun, agatasuncha, that's agatasuncha. They grieve over neither the living nor the dead. Note here that we've got a cha. In Sanskrit, it's perfectly all right to say they do not grieve over the living and the dead, which whereas in English we would say they grieve over neither the living nor the dead. It's more normal to put it in this way in Sanskrit that we see here. The living, so the dead and the living, they do not grieve, means they don't grieve for either category of person. So I'll just read it through now. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashocyanan Vashochastvam Prajnavadascha Bhashase Gatasun Agatasuncha Nanushochanti Panditaha. And once more. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashocyanan Vashochastvam Prajnavadascha Bhashase Gatasunagatasuncha Nanushochanti Panditaha. And that's it on this video.